good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in this wonderful world. We have a very special program today because we are circling the globe. With me today is Trina. And Trina, you have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing our friend Sarah and setting the context for today's show. So I'm going to hand it on over to you.
Oh, Scott, it's so wonderful to have Sarah back. She's been on our programs before, and I find her a really very intelligent, well spoken African that helps us understand that a lot of things are going on over in Africa. And so Sarah has just had the chance to go to South Africa to make some plans with a couple of my other friends, the South African and somebody from Zimbabwe. So Sarah took some photographs and did some work to get us some pictures on her way back from South Africa. And so here she is. She's going to tell you about it. I have not heard her discussion of these pictures yet either. She's going to talk about farming, indigenous farming, because that's the theme of what we're trying to do is to show the wisdom in indigenous farming practices that raise food around the world. Since 80% of the world's food is raised mostly by women in small pieces of land, but they own less than 10% of the land. So it's a very serious matter. So one of the things that this little series is trying to do is to feature them. And here we go. Sarah, take it away. I will be eager to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Okay. I belong to an international organization called the Grail Women International Organization. And so my trip was meant to meet some other Grail members who stay in South Africa. And we also had some other Grail members who came from Zimbabwe. We met so that we can come up with a manual that would help us to develop some content on just transition that would be used wherever we are in our communities to educate people about agroecology and the best way to combat climate change through the farming activities. So that is the reason why I went to South Africa and we were able to meet. We were 7 of us. 2 came from Zimbabwe. I was the only one from Kenya, and then 4 from South Africa. So we met for about 2 days and we were able to come up with a skeleton manual on just transition. We are still working on it. We haven't completed, but for the 2 days, we were able to come up with the main topics that we thought would best be used in our communities. This is just on a pilot level. So we want to try and see if this manual would be able to help us to educate people on how to combat climate change through just transition actions. A part of it is actually the agroecology that is happening in even South Africa. That is part of just transition. So when we talk of just transition, again, we are talking about moving completely from fossil fuels and trying to adapt the traditional indigenous ways that is friendly to the environment and will protect the earth and the environment at the same time. And we did this because we realized that, again, women are so much involved into doing these activities. And maybe if we come up with a better way of involving more women, it will help us to combat the climate change issues. Like some women are already doing this, but they even don't know that they're doing it. I would use my mother as an example. She's been doing agroecology, but she doesn't know that she's combating climate change. Until the other day now, when I was trying to explain to her, and she understood. She was doing it because it's her way of life. There is land, but the issue of land is still sad because the people who own land there are still men. They have communal land, but this land is still owned by majority by men. And so women can practice maybe their farming on this land. But when it comes to ownership in the village of KwaZulu, it's men who own this land. Like I was accommodated by one family, and this family has about 6 girls and 2 boys. All the 6 girls are there but none of them owns part of that land, although they are allowed to practice maybe the farming together with their mother, but they are not allowed to own this land. The land is still under the men who are their fathers and their grandparents, their grandfathers. So what happens is that even when they want to use this land, they have to ask for permission from the father or the grandfather. And the grandfather or the father shows them where they can practice these little farming. The women are not owning land there, but men own land. And I think it's something that we keep on struggling so much here. And another thing is that we have these young girls who are engaging themselves into combating climate change. They've joined a group called WLTP, and this is a women leadership training program. And in this women leadership training program, what they do is to learn the skills that can help in combating climate change through agroecology. So most of these girls have gardens, although the land is very small, but at least they try. Like you can see here, this picture was taken in one of the small garden of this girl that is standing next to me at the other end on my right while looking at the video. That garden is owned by that girl, and the woman with a hat on the other side holding a baby is the mother to this girl. So the girl is the custodian of the garden, but when the girl is in school now, the mother takes care of that garden. And as you can see, the garden, we have some vegetables. This is most of the plants that they grow vegetables. But one thing is that most of the vegetables that they grow are not very indigenous. They have other types of vegetables, but we have some spinach there. Yeah, we have some spinach. And they also have lettuce, they have cabbages, and most of them are not indigenous. But they say that most of the indigenous seeds, like the herb vegetable seeds, not rarely found around their community. So they just do the foreign vegetables, like the ones we are seeing, the spinach, the cabbage, the lettuce. And one thing I found interesting is that they use a lot of mulching in their gardens. And they say that part of the mulching, this is grass, but they were telling me that this grass is also part of the manure because at the end of the day, they don't remove it, but when it rots, it converts into manure. They've been doing this for quite some time. And they identify so much with these gardens, especially the girls, because according to them, one, they are providing at least basic food through these gardens in their families, to their families. And they also sell them whenever they have more. They can sell them and maybe buy books and pens. And I think having young girls doing such activities is very interesting. It's something that I learned. And when I tried to ask them what motivates them to do this, they were telling me they want to identify with their land, they want to identify with their crops, and they also want to combat climate change. If you look closely, you will see that where that girl is bending, we have some stones there, and they put stones in the gardens so that they can create a home. Like they was telling me, they were trying to create homes for snakes. So biodiversity. Their gardens are not just to produce for them food, but to also create homes for animals like the snakes and those other animals that would want to live under the stones. That is something new that I learned. If I look at the gardens that we have at home, we don't have the stones in the garden, but then they bring stones to put just besides their crops so that they can accommodate at least the snakes that maybe want to stay under that garden and other small animals. So that girl was trying to demonstrate how they put the stone. You don't just throw them, but there's a way in which you put them so that when, if it's a snake coming, this stone does not harm the snake, but it will just accommodate it. Maybe it wants to get the sun and then go back. I was just excited with the way they value pumpkins in this particular community. I know pumpkins are all over in the world, but I don't know. I found it so different because for them, they have varieties. Actually, when you look at these pumpkins closely, you will realize that each pumpkin is just different from the other one. The shape, the color, and even the sizes. So all these are different types. They're like the amaranth that we have at home. They are grown in one garden, but they're all different. So these are different pumpkins, and it's one of the meals that they value so much. It's traditional. So they say among most of the heritage seeds that they've kept, pumpkin is one of them. In as much as they've lost other seeds, but at least for the pumpkins, they say this is very indigenous. They've kept this. Most of them have had this. And most of them will even share the seeds for the pumpkins. And they make different meals out of this pumpkin. First, before they harvest it, they even use their leaves as well. And their leaves as used as spinach. You can use it as a vegetable from what they were telling me. And they can also use it, mix it with the other kales or the spinach to prepare meals for the children and for the old people because they say the pumpkin leaves are very soft. So after harvesting their pumpkins, they don't store them inside the house the way we do at my place. These ones are actually on a roof somewhere. They are on a roof and they're left outside. They just stay outside. Whenever they want to prepare it, they go and pick it from the top of the roof. So the reason why I was asking them why they leave them outside, and they said it's because pumpkins have a lot of water. So when they leave them outside, at least that water will be drained by the sun slowly by slowly, and it's hardened. And the more it stays outside in the sun, the more it becomes hard, and the more it becomes delicious and sweet. I was able to taste some meals that were prepared out of pumpkin. We had the pumpkin sauce. There was also a pumpkin porridge. There was pumpkin soup. And this is made during the same meal. So during the same meal, you'll have some pumpkin sauce, you'll have the pumpkin porridge, you'll have the pumpkin soup. And their meals, especially the traditional one, cannot be complete without pumpkins. Even when we were traveling back in the plane, we were served pumpkins as well. And I remember the cabin crew saying that they are going to serve us with a very delicious South African pumpkin. I was shocked. So, pumpkin is a special meal, that's special plant and special food. And if a neighbor doesn't have a pumpkin, like where I visited, we had food together and neighbors came in with food. At least every neighbor who came in with food came with food that is partly prepared with pumpkins in it. So I was shocked. And the way they harvest most of them, like all these pumpkins are for one family. And you go to another family, you find even more pumpkins. Some of them are stored on top of a house on the roof, and some of them are just left in the garden and nobody steals. I was asking them if there's anyone who would steal a pumpkin, and they said traditionally, if you steal a pumpkin, you're like a cursed person. So you'll be cursed more, you'll have many problems. So they leave them in the farm and nobody takes them because, again, they're sacred. It was something new that I learned. Children do not belong to one person, they belong to the community. And whenever something is happening in the community, it involves everybody. Like that day when I went, so many people were actually waiting in their homes. They knew that I was going and they didn't leave. They welcomed me, they wanted to see me. We sang, maybe I'll be able to share the video where we sang, we danced together, we sang the traditional songs and danced together. It was so communal there. And for the young girls, they are free to move from one home to another home and learn what is happening from one home to another home. The reason why most of the girls have the gardens, it's because they learned from what other girls were doing. No parent wants their child to be left behind. If a neighbor's daughter belongs to a certain group that looks like it's doing, maybe engaging in good activities, they encourage the neighborhood to join the other girls and do what other girls are doing. And I think that is why this gardening thing has really grown in the Zulu community, because one neighbor motivates another neighbor, and then you end up having the whole village, actually, girls having gardens in the whole village. Every girl wants to have a garden with vegetables, and every mother wants their daughter to have a garden in the village. I think it's something that is good. And when they go to school, the mothers, the reason why they involve the mothers is that when they go to school, sometimes they join high school, or they join college, or they join university. So the mothers are able to take care of these gardens when their daughters maybe advance to a higher level of education and they are forced to move out of the community. So the mothers are the ones who take care of the gardens. But when the girls come back during the holiday, they still identify with these gardens, something that is very interesting. I think that one, we don't have it here in Kenya, and it's something good that maybe you can introduce.
Well, thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you, Trina. We're going to wrap it up for now, but I am positive that this is not the last time we're going to be speaking on these topics.